now to React. Steve Forbes, Forbes Media Chairman Austin Goolsbee, former economic advisor under President Obama and economics professor at the University of Chicago. Thanks to you both. Steve, I'll start with you. Is there any way we're not going to come out of this with a better deal than we did before? It seems like they're making progress.
Both sides want a deal. No side wants a trade war. They know both sides are going to lose. Even if China's hurt more than we would be, we would still be hurt. Not good for the economy, certainly not good politically. So they'll come up with something, absolutely.
Yeah. Austin, having Larry Kudlow in the room, and for as long as I've known him, he said a tariff is a tax. He hates tariffs. He's going to do everything he can to try and have that not happen, but it has to do with making a deal, no?
I hope so. Larry's an old friend of mine.
Of course.
Though we're on opposite sides on some issues. And he's a free trader. From the reports, some of the president's most bomb-throwing protectionist, isolationist wing have not been allowed into the negotiations. So I think that's a good sign.
I can't imagine who you're talking about there, Austin.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing that confuses me, though. If President Trump had started and said, all of this is my strategy to get China to protect U.S. intellectual property better, he could have gotten our allies absolutely on board with that. Instead, we are simultaneously starting low-grade trade wars with Europe, with Canada, with Mexico, with Japan, with Brazil. I don't understand why we're doing that. We should be getting everybody on the same page to help us.
I think because that's really poor negotiating when you reveal what your tactic is and what you're really up to in order to the larger world. Steve Forbes, that's like saying, the other side has to believe that you're willing to follow through with whatever the threat is, or else they won't take it seriously. He couldn't broadcast what this was really all about.
In a poker game, you don't show your hand, period. And the fact that they took him seriously in terms of being willing to impose tariffs unilaterally, I think helped make possible an agreement, which I think will come in the next few weeks. And in terms of uniting with our European allies, I think now they'll be in a mood to work with us on some of these issues, whereas before they might have been kind of reluctant.
All right, Austin, I'll let you go first on the next one. Moving on to another important story here. President Trump has personally pushed the postmaster general to double the rate it charges Amazon and other companies to ship packages. This is according to the Washington Post. Of course, the Washington Post, we all know, is owned by Jeff Bezos, who is the CEO of Amazon. So there's that little cross current there. Austin, I can't tell how I feel about this story. As a taxpayer, I don't want to subsidize Amazon. As a lover and buyer of everything Amazon,
you feel about this?
I don't want it yet. Well, I'm saying I could see both sides. As a lover of everything Amazon, I don't want to pay more for my products. What do you think?
I think, as the postmaster evidently told the president, the post office needs more demand, not less demand. Amazon is not costing the taxpayers. It's helping the post office not go out of business. Even Steve and I disagree on many things, but we will agree, I hope, that if the president of the United States is calling the head of the post office and asking them to raise the prices on a specific company that he's mad at, that is a kind of a borderline terrifying prospect.
To be fair, if the story is true, he said a bunch of companies, and what he's suggesting, Steve, is that the market clearing price for the product that they're getting is actually higher than what it is that they're paying, that they're getting a good deal, and it would still make sense for them if the price was higher, but, they're getting a huge bargain as it is. I know that if they raise the price to Amazon, it's the same thing as raising the price to the consumer who's buying the Amazon stuff. So that's what I was trying to say to Austin before in a joking way.
Yeah, well, the fact of the matter is the post office, in terms of immediate cash flow, does well with these packages. And if they raise the price too much, Amazon and others will find alternative ways to deliver those packages, especially in this day of technology making it so easy, and drones to being able to drop this stuff. So the post office is in a declining business, and this is volume that helps keep them at least the lights on.
Yeah, Austin, it does highlight the fact that the post office, and this has kind of always been their issue, is that they have some really great services that people want, like this service from Amazon. And then they have a bunch of stuff that loses money, and they have some legacy costs that they can't get rid of. It could be a really profitable business if it were run better.
Well, when you say run better, I agree with your description. Yeah. That's exactly right. But run better would involve cutting off grandma who lives in Alaska or in some rural area and making a letter to grandma cost $8.
Well, or their pension costs.
Jettisoning
I mean, it
old
has to do with a
pension
lot of
obligations.
yeah.
That's the problem.
Well, I mean, but a lot of cities and states and governments have made promises they can't keep with their pensions. So is it worth, running the post office out of business?
Well, look, in this case, if the president's out and angry at some company and asking that they raise the prices, that is a terrifying precedent. But separate from that, if you look at the post office, what they're getting from Amazon is helping them cover their past costs. So I don't see that this in any way would be helpful for dealing with those past costs. I just don't see
unless they could
how it
charge
would
a
help.
little bit more and cover more costs. We got to know what they're really paying for that. I mean, that would be interesting, what the cost of delivering for Amazon is and what they're charging, and could they charge more?